Hey, welcome to Musicians on the Record. Happy Friday. I am David Ward. This is the show where we're getting the musician's story. Welcome. Hope you had a great week. Happy Friday. Glad you're joining us. If you're already connected to us on the motor community, welcome back. If this is the first time that we are connecting, welcome. Really glad to have you here, and would love to invite you to subscribe to our channel. We celebrate the joy of music. If you love music as much as we do, subscribe to us and join us. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have interviewed some of the best musicians on the planet so far, and there's more coming up. It's really cool. As we're starting, let us know where you're watching from in the world. Would love to hear from you wherever you are, and whenever you're watching this, even if this is after the live broadcast, let us know. I pay attention to the comments and I will see those and respond. We're in Portland, Maine. It was a beautiful day today. Portland, Maine, if you don't know, in the world, is in the US and about a couple hours north of Boston, Massachusetts, to give you a frame of reference. And so let us know where you are in the world. We had a great week. In the last couple of weeks, we have released a couple of interviews for you. The first one is Klaus Hessler, an amazing drummer from Germany, incredible, with the likes of Thomas Lang and Jojo Mayer and Benny Greb. He's really incredible. He's got a couple of books and DVDs on open-handed playing. If you're a drummer, do you play open-handed? I'm a drummer, and I play open-handed. I really enjoy that. It's just more natural for me when I cross over, but then my brain gets all mixed up, and you know, I can get in trouble that way. So yeah, so let us know where you are in the world. And so with Klaus Hessler, he was on the show, and he also learned and got trained from legendary drummer Jim Chapin, who is an amazing drummer. The Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer, that's Jim's legendary book. And so Klaus got trained by him and learned the Moeller method, and he gave us a demonstration on the video, which was really cool. We really enjoyed that. So we're just hanging out here on a Friday night, wanted to talk with you. And when I say we, I don't know if you can see my buddy Bob. That's my pug Bob. He ain't gonna say much tonight. He's just hanging out. So he lets me do most of the talking. And we also released another interview for you. Incredible. This woman is amazing. Christine Ullman was on the show this past week, which we released. If you don't know Christine, you've probably heard her, because if you've ever watched Saturday Night Live, you've definitely heard her. Christine has been the primary lead singer for the Saturday Night Live band for almost 25 years. She's played with everybody, and she had so many fun stories to share with us. And it was just a fun story of how she even got the gig. If you're a musician, check that out, because networking is so important, and the way that she went about that, very cool interview. So check that out. So let's get to the reason why we are here as well. This is the MOTR Week in Music History, where we sit down and we chat, grab a coffee or your favorite beverage, whatever you want to do, and we're going to remember some of the greatest events in music history that happened this past week, from yesterday and today, because there's some current stuff that's going on that we love talking about as well. So let's start it off with this week, or today actually. It's sort of a sad note, obviously, because we just lost him, unfortunately. Tom Petty. It is his 67th birthday today. It would have been his 67th birthday. What an amazing musician, Tom Petty. Did you ever get to see Tom Petty live? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear. What an incredible musician. I got to see Tom Petty back, I think, in 85, 86, maybe 87. It's a while ago, in Buffalo, New York, where the Bills play, and with Dylan and the Dead. Pretty incredible concert. But Tom Petty stole the show. I don't know if it was an off night for Dylan and the Dead. It might have been an off night for me. I don't know. But Tom Petty was amazing with his band. What an incredible artist. My wife Jen and I just watched his documentary on Netflix, Running Down a Dream. If you get a chance to check that out, watch it. It's definitely worth it. And it's very cool because it's from start to almost finish with his career, but it's like 3 hours long, so you might need to break that up. But what an amazing musician. What an incredible songwriter, and I love his voice. He would just go from some kind, sometimes easy, and then just a growl, which was amazing. Do you have a favorite Tom Petty song? We love so many of them. You know, The Waiting, American Girl, Free Fallin', Running Down a Dream. So many incredible songs. Check that out on Netflix. Definitely worth your time. And, you know, we miss Tom Petty, right? Incredible. You know, we were thinking about it because we were listening to some Traveling Wilburys the other day as well, and obviously they lost Roy Orbison, and it seemed like that broke up the band, that stopped. Wouldn't that have been cool if the Traveling Wilburys would have continued even without Roy? I know that was obviously such a loss, but it seemed like that stopped the band. That was one of the big things they had in the movie itself. You still had Tom, George Harrison, Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Jim Keltner on drums. That's still quite a supergroup. Did I leave anybody out? It could have been, but you know. So anyway, the MOTR Tribute Series remembers Tom Petty on what would have been his 67th birthday. Tom, thank you for all the music. We really appreciate it. All right, what else happened this week? Oh, one of our favorites, of course. How many times have you watched The Song Remains the Same by Led Zeppelin? Actually, today in music history, 1976, The Song Remains the Same was released. They had a big party in New York City. A gala event, actually a charity event for Save the Children Fund. It actually raised about 25 grand. Nice job, guys. But, you know, we absolutely love that movie. The Song Remains the Same. We watched it about a bajillion times growing up, friends and I, because, you know, for folks like me who just missed the cusp after John Bonham died and didn't get to see Zeppelin in concert, for a while, that was really our only way of seeing and hearing what a Zeppelin concert would have been like. And it wasn't until whenever Jimmy put out the How the West Was Won DVD, when all of that other footage, like from Denmark, the early days, and the Royal Albert Hall concert, that wasn't around back then. So The Song Remains the Same was the only game in town, and we loved it. I mean, it was just incredible. I could quote you stuff from the movie, and just obviously the music was incredible as well. One of our favorite parts was near the beginning when the kid was just rolling up and down on his bike up the mountaintops, and seemed like he was traveling for 4 days, delivering the notes to Robert Plant and John Paul Jones, and John Paul Jones just says, tour dates. And then he goes, wait, this is tomorrow. That was fantastic. And we also thought it was hilarious that this kid, you know, whoever this was, you know, this courier, just days worth of driving up and down these mountains and no tip. I guess there were no tips back in the 70s. Like, this kid was on his own. He got a little bit of a nod from John Paul Jones. But it seemed like he deserved a tip, for God's sakes, right? Tip the kid. Anyway, so The Song Remains the Same. What's your favorite scene from the movie? What an incredible movie. Thanks, Zeppelin. I've read, I don't know what's true or not, but I've read they weren't happy with it. Certainly they had to redo it, some in the studio, but they weren't exactly sort of happy with it. I'm happy with it, and many others are, so thank you for doing that. Related to Zeppelin this week, also in music history, that was 76. A few years earlier, in 69, The Brown Bomber was released. That's right, Zeppelin 2. Is that your favorite Led Zeppelin album? It's one of ours, that's for sure. Heartbreaker, Lemon Song, What Is and What Should Never Be, and of course, Whole Lotta Love. What a crazy album, and an amazing process they did with traveling around the world and recording it, with Eddie Kramer as the engineer and Jimmy producing. Just unbelievable. Led Zeppelin 2. I don't know if you heard or saw the interview with Robert Plant and Howard Stern this week, but it sounded like Howard was saying that was one of his favorite albums as well. So is that your favorite Zeppelin album? And if so, what's your favorite track on it? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Also this week in music history, let's check in with Bob and see how he's doing. Yeah, he's just hanging, still asleep. He's sort of like Penn and Teller. He's Penn or the Teller guy, whoever just stays silent. Lets me do all the talking. Let's get him a little bit in frame. All right, also this week in music history, 1977, sadly, another sad note, we lost half the band, for God's sakes, of Lynyrd Skynyrd. Very sad, tragic plane crash. You had Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, Cassie Gaines, and their manager, Dean Kilpatrick, all died in the plane crash. What a sad loss for the world of music. I love Lynyrd Skynyrd. Did you ever get to see Skynyrd live? And if so, where? Tell us about the show. We'd love to hear about that. Never got to see Skynyrd live. I know they are still around and touring in different configuration of members, of course, but you know, not the same as far as with the loss of Ronnie Van Zant. So, and that was in Mississippi that they crashed. Sadly, it sounded like the plane ran out of gas. I don't know how that happens, but what a sad, tragic loss for the world of music, the world of rock and roll. Also, this week in music history, we had The Who. Back in '69, they started a 6-night gig at the Fillmore East, classic Fillmore East, with Bill Graham performing Tommy. That's when they were doing the Tommy, I believe, exclusively. Can you imagine what that would have been like? Did you ever get to see The Who play Tommy? We've seen The Who twice now, once in '89 when Kenny Jones was playing drums for them. Again, no, this was in Mansfield, Massachusetts this time. In Gillette, basically, Gillette Stadium, where that is now. What an incredible show. We drove in. The concert had already started a little bit. We walked in, and Pete is playing Pinball Wizard, and the tingles up my spine. Just amazing, amazing show. And then we saw The Who a year or two, a couple of years ago at Boston Garden. And Zach Starkey, Ringo's son, was playing drums. He is just a beast, and he was on beast mode, for God's sakes. Love him as a drummer. He was incredible. Clearly, no one is like Keith Moon. There's no question about that, right? And related to that, this week in music history as well, back in '78, Keith played his last show at the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. And we really obviously miss Keith Moon. What a great drummer, great musician. Doesn't matter to us if he's not the best technical drummer. He just made that motor run, and love The Who for that. So let us know if you ever saw The Who, or what's your favorite Who song. All right, what else? This week in music history, had the Stones in '73. At #1, their 7th #1 hit with Angie. Is Angie your favorite Stones song or something else? We love the song and love the Stones in general. Probably more so, certainly Angie is a great song. We would probably put Gimme Shelter and Tumbling Dice ahead of that, though. Those are some of our favorite Stones songs. And then another big deal that happened this week in music history, 1980, you had the beginning of part 2 of AC/DC, when after Bon Scott died, they came back and Brian Johnson was the singer, and the first shows started happening this week back in 1980. So are you a Bon Scott AC/DC person, or are you a Brian Johnson AC/DC person? I can't choose. We love them both. amazing musicians. I'm just struck by how the heck did this band strike lightning twice? I mean, love Bon Scott, incredible voice like no other. And then sadly he dies, and then you've got Brian Johnson. Where do you find him? And his voice is incredible too. So that's just what we're struck by. That lightning struck twice for this band, because it could have been over. Some other bands, you lose a lead singer like that and game over, you're a footnote in history. They kept going, and what an amazing band they are. Did you ever see AC/DC in concert? Seems like they're kind of wrapping up. We don't know, but you know, health and age is starting to take effect, and maybe they'll come back, but it's very possible that that was their last tour that just happened recently. So did you ever get to see AC/DC live? We saw AC/DC in Portland, Maine back in, I think, 85, 84, 85, 86. It's a little hazy for us from back then, but what an incredible show. Of course, Angus put on an amazing show, incredible guitar player. We loved it. It was fantastic. Thank you guys for all of that music. So also this week in music history, some birthdays to celebrate. We had Ziggy Marley, son of legendary musician Bob Marley, of course. Ziggy, a great musician on his own, he turned 49 this week. Happy birthday, Ziggy Marley. The guy who started it all, the legend of this whole rock and roll, he's no longer with us, but Chuck Berry would have been 91 this week in music history. What's your favorite Chuck Berry song? Ours, you know, it's popular, but we still love it. Johnny B. Good, it's great. And then also earlier in the week, this week, one of the guys, the staples, the cornerstones of the Grateful Dead, Bob Weir, turned 70. Thank you so much, Bob, for your music. We're glad you're still around. We miss Jerry. We miss the other members of the Dead. What an incredible musician. And have you seen his documentary on Netflix? I can't remember exactly where it is or what the name of it is here, but he has a documentary on Netflix too. Check that out. That's very cool. But just a prolific songwriter, prolific musician, singer, and what incredible music they created and made. And I believe they're going to be, obviously without Jerry, but they're coming up with some kind of tour. They're touring with John Mayer, I believe, soon. That's Bob, by the way. I'm not the one snoring, at least not in the moment. If you've never heard or seen a pug, that's what pugs do. They snore when they sleep. So Bob and I hanging out on YouTube. A lot of fun. So thank you so much, Bob, for your music. Really appreciate it. All right, so here is the motor question of the week. What are you doing this weekend musically to sort of celebrate music or have more music in your life? Are you going to be listening to music? Are you going to be buying some music that you've been wanting to get recently? Are you going to be playing some music, practicing an instrument? Are you going to be performing a concert or going to see a concert? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you're doing musically this weekend to have more music in your life. And for God's sakes, we need music as much as possible right now in our lives, right? So I hope you have a wonderful, fun-filled weekend with a lot of music, a lot of joy. Again, if you're new here and you haven't been with us before, welcome. We'd really love to have you part of the motor community, and we invite you to subscribe to our channel. A lot of great interviews coming up with some wonderful musicians getting their story. You know, this whole thing was created about musicians, of what drove their passion to start with music, what challenges and obstacles they've overcome, and what keeps them going today. We've got a lot of fun interviews coming up for you in the near future, so stay tuned for that. So, hope you have a great weekend. Thanks again for watching. I'm David Ward for Musicians on the Record. For Bob and I, say bye, Bob. Okay, so he's just hanging out. Thanks again. I'm going to go play the drums. Have a great weekend. Oh, for me, I would also say what I'm going to be doing this weekend is getting together with my band and rehearsing. I have a fun cover band called the Howlers, and we just play some fun classic rock. So that's what I'm going to be doing musically. I hope you have a great weekend filled with music. Thanks again. Thanks for watching.